Hi everyone, I'm Katie Couric. Welcome to Eye to Eye. More than 40 years ago, Eric Clapton and his signature Fender Stratocaster guitar helped transform music. Now he's coming out with a new album and a full slate of concert dates to promote it. But he admits to correspondent John Blackstone his slow hand is starting to slip.
Maybe you were misquoted. I sort of hope you were misquoted. Maybe it was a weak moment, but I read an interview from just a few weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody said, you said, I looked at an old tape and I'm not as good as I once was.
No, that's absolutely true. It was on YouTube. I was just surfing and I looked at YouTube and I put my name in and I got a piece of footage from the mid-90s of me when I was just playing a blues song. I thought, what? There were some things that I was doing that I just don't even think I've sort of unconsciously let go of. I don't do them anymore. Probably because they're too hard to do. So, I mean, I believe I can still play with the same amount of emotion and feeling and expression that I've always set out to do. I just don't, I think, that's just logic, isn't it? The faculties have got to start wearing away at some point,
But maybe that's one of the great appeals of the blues is that there's a long history of blues performers going on forever.
That's right, yeah. That's right. Well, when I was listening to music, even as a kid, my heroes were always old guys, so that's I'm safe in that respect.
The road to Escondido, then. Originally in your mind, this wasn't going to be a bunch of duets, was it? Was that what you were going to do?
Funny you should say that. No, I think the idea I had, and I just blurted out to John when I saw him at this Crossroads Guitar Festival that we did. I just summed up the courage and said, would you make a record with me? And I had no idea of what that would be when I was verbalizing. I just said, and as I was saying it, I thought, well, you could produce it and I'll play or something, because the thing for me was to get his sound, because that's the secret of the whole thing. Well, it's not so much in the playing, it's what he does with it. And then so I was amazed that he said yes, because I was just expecting a rejection,
How could you be amazed?
Well, because I just expect rejection. No. I always expect rejection. I always think the worst about everything. I just try to get my mind accustomed to the fact that I'm going to get a no, So when he said yes, I was kind of caught by surprise, because I didn't really know. And so I said, well, let's think about what we would do. And we took... and that's how it kind of happened. I thought, well, the next thing is material. I hardly write at all these days. I write under extreme pressure or just by accident. It's not something I do, And he just went to work and he wrote something like 9 or 10 or even more songs and sent them off to me. I thought, well, this is fantastic. It's all, he's doing it all, and all I've really got to do is go into the studio with him and cut these songs, and he'll produce it, and we'll have done it. But then I thought, well, but how will they know? How will anyone that buys the record know what JJ's involvement is, unless they look at the fine print? And if you bought it on iTunes, for instance, you'd never know, because there's not a credit access thing, or there is, but it's very restricted. So I thought, well then, as we were doing it, I was thinking, well, I really want people to know about his involvement in this. I don't want it just to be an Eric Clapton album within small print produced by J.J. Cale. And so I thought, well, I've got to, bite the bullet again and say, well, we have to increase your input. Well, how would you feel about this being a 50-50 thing? And he was kind of, at that point, he started getting reluctant. And actually, to be honest with you, all the way along, he starts to get reluctant. He was great initially, but then, so you could feel him kind of shuffling backwards out of the room all the time. But I kind of, I was, persistent, and he gave way. And so that's how it ended up. And I think it's the only way we could have done it justice, because when I hear me singing his songs, it just doesn't have the weight. But when I hear what happened a lot of the time, where the two voice, where we sang together, we create this hybrid, which is a bit of him, a bit of me, and it's almost like another guy comes in. And I think that's the magic of it.
Why did you want to make sure that J.J. Cale was recognized as part of this?
Oh, well, that's just my thing, I mean, I've always been insistent on people knowing, I mean, it's like the teacher part of my makeup, I suppose. It's quite arrogant, but I assume that people ought to know where things come from. You know, I just don't think that, I feel like I'm a servant to this thing rather than just using it to my advantage. I've always wanted people to be aware of the history of my music, not my music, the music. And so if I didn't want there to be a scenario where people would buy the album, listen to it, and not even know what the thing was about, because that was the whole mission. You know, the road to Escondido was about me, Muhammad Goes to the Mountain. I had to go to him, really. I wasn't going to be able to get JJ to come to London, for instance. So, I mean, that's a given. So I had to go to the source and do it that way. And I wanted everyone to know about how this came about.
I'll be right back with a page from my notebook after this quick break.